Hello and welcome back to another video for my capstone deliverable. My name is Jasmine and I'm a former USAHS OTD student. And on our next video, we're going to discuss more on mixed methods. So if you haven't reviewed any of the previous videos of the qualitative or the quantitative data, I recommend reviewing those first. They're about 10 minutes long, so fairly brief. And we'll get right into the mixed one. All right, so we have all of our data all together. And this is where we want to basically link our quantitative and our qualitative together. So we have one interview, and as you see that I attached it to the number that corresponds with the ID number. So it's really good to keep track of which participant is taking which survey and how to triangulate that and making sure that it's the same person, because that's very important. All right, so we're going to go over to our descriptors tab. And we see here we have all of our our survey information that's already linked to one, which is our qualitative question at the end. All right, so we're gonna look on number 4. We're gonna see what is linked. All right, so we see that this one has already been linked. That's why it's green. And since we're looking for the ID for interview, and so you want to add those descriptors to that same one, we're going to add that to it. All right, so there you go. We have 2 of those already linked together, that qualitative question and the interview response. So we can go ahead and check that out. All right. And this is where, if we want to put more analysis on it and look at tables comparing the codes with the descriptors, this is where that will come in. So as we see over here, we have our descriptors. All right. So the most important graphs that I found useful that are straight to the point are the descriptors ratios multi-chart, which shows you all the demographics, all the questions, if you want a easy like pie chart. And if you want to switch to a bar, just click the little bar columns right there. All right, and that gives you the percentage as well as the number. So the bottom number, the 40% of sum. All right, so you could export all of this data and the graphs out. However, it does not compute all of the graphs together. So I'll recommend using your data that you have within your survey, the one that pops up from Microsoft, the one on the results. I would recommend using that or doing it on Microsoft Excel. All right. And the next chart, we have just codes and descriptors. All right, so code and descriptors mainly has the descriptors like the age, education level, right on the bottom here. Sorry, right over here in the field. So whichever one you want as your Y is going to be first. So codes, Y, X, and then basically on the X axis, what we're looking at is going to be the descriptor. So let's look at level of education so far. All right, so since we only have one interview in here for now, That's why there's only one at the moment. Okay, we have one for sports. All right, so I'm gonna go to my research doing at the moment to give you a better, just a little bit more data of how to analyze it. All right, so even though I only have 4 interviews, I have quite a lot of data. As you see on the mixed methods chart, we have the code descriptor, descriptor code, and this 2 descriptors and 1 code. So these are the top 3 I would recommend if you're looking at a mixed methods study. So let's look at code descriptors. So I have all of my codes right over here, and say I want to look at, let's do socioeconomic status. All right, so it looks like all of them are in the same range. Let's look at age then. All right, so I have a little bit of dispersed everywhere. So if you want to see like the frequency of how many codes are in each excerpt, it'll count the number of codes. So be aware that these aren't very descriptive of how many, the level quality of codes, just a number. All right. So for the descriptor X code, I would recommend using this for interviews of analyzing the quantitative to the survey responses. So right here we have the codes. So right at the bottom, I have this question here. This was the survey question that I used. And like cultural values. So I was very, I did more of a simpler coding so that I can differentiate, oh, how often did they see as financial security as being important, or academia, or independence. So let's look at academia. All right. So I'm going to disregard the ID number first because that is fairly not a good representation of how we want to see the data. All right. The main ones I want to look at are socioeconomic status and all the other demographics. So looks like there were more codes based on age in 26 to 35-year-olds of their adolescent experience versus also genderqueer. All right. We also have a high rate of Chinese and Caucasian, like a mixed ethnicity, still represented in that high academia. All right. And as you can see, it doesn't matter what socioeconomic status you come from, that high achieving of academic achievement is very profound. So this is where I would use your qualitative question within your survey to reference it to your demographics. So survey based. All right. And then the last one, descriptor and descriptor on code. So say we want to look at age and we want to look at socioeconomic status. And then we're going to choose 1 code. All right, and as you can see, first field is right over here, second field, and we have the code that will be along the lines. All right, so let's look at the same one, going down to the questions, the coded responses. Let's look at academia. All right, so it looks like more of on the lower end for 18 to 25-year-olds, less than 100,000 socioeconomic status, um, required a lot more academic achievements. So that does make sense. All right, and if you want to see the frequency versus the weight, you can also try that. All right, so as you can see, it's being more specific on what you want to search for. So if you want to look on very specific people of like age, demographics, or even race, then that will give you a better picture of what you're trying to look for. It's good to have a question of, I want to compare two things on which code, but again, you can only use one code for these. So choose your codes wisely. Be as descriptive as you can. And as you can see for my codes, I added description to everyone except for these because those were basically just surface level codes. All right. So to export all your data, I like to export my excerpts so that I can review them and not open Dedoose all the time because it does use a lot of battery and just energy out of your laptop. So same thing, we have a little export button and oops. So we're going to select all. Actually, I go from codes because I want to see what codes are under each for each excerpt. And here I will export into a Word doc or docx and include the code excerpts. All right. After you submit, you'll basically just make a whole Word document of all your codes and all your codes and descriptions and your excerpts or quotes. Okay. All right. So I'm going to switch screens here and show you what they might look like. All right. So now we have all of our codes. So this is just one of the codes. This is the first one, the assembly to decrease cultural stigma. So if you want to do all of them, make sure you click on all of the tabs and then export. Maybe you can also not include the questions. All right, there we go. And then we would export, same thing, into a Word doc. All right, so that is how you get all of your codes, mixed methods, and yeah, all right. So hopefully this was helpful for you guys. And if you have any questions, again, I'll leave my information or resources that you might need later on. All right, thank you.